What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Tradingofftilt. I'm Ryan, and take a look at the Elliott wave count you guys see on your screen. I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably seen someone showing a count that looks something like this, and it may follow the Elliott wave rules, but it very blatantly throws the guidelines of wave formation out the window. And if this is your count, don't feel bad. We all start somewhere in Elliott waves, and hopefully this video could help serve you as far as educational purposes go. So today we're going to be debunking some of the popular counts that I've seen going around on YouTube and within Discord groups for your guys' own educational purposes. And some of the counts that I'm going to be going through, like I said, may be possible, but according to Elliott wave guidelines are very improbable. So I'll first show you guys the incorrect counts that many people are following, and then I'll show you guys some better alternatives to them to kind of help guide you guys in your Elliott wave counting. And there's 5 main counts that I want to go through in this video, including some of which I've shown you guys in the past in my previous videos as possibilities. So let's get into it. All right, so the first incorrect count that I want to show you guys today would be this one right here, where we're calling this all a WXY, and this being a 1, 2 as shown. And the first problem we have that's listed down here is forcing in a corrective structure into this wave X. So wave X, whether it's a 333 or a 333, a WXY or WXYXZ, has to be a corrective structure. And this move right here looks much more impulsive than corrective. Now it's possible to get a zigzag out of this move. You know, in Elliott waves, a lot of things are possible, but going off of simplicity, this looks a lot more impulsive for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 than trying to force in a corrective structure. If you were to try to force in a corrective structure, in my opinion, I think you're probably going off of some predisposed bias that you had, and you're trying to force in a move to give you the count that you want, when in reality, simplicity tells us that this is much more indicative of an impulse. So that's the first problem, and really that's the biggest problem that we could identify with this count right here, calling this a WXY. I just really do not favor this being a wave X. However, the second problem we could identify is the lack of symmetry between the wave W and the wave Y. And you don't necessarily have to get symmetry between the wave W and the wave Y, but it definitely offers confluence to the count. And in this case, we can see the wave W took a lot longer than the wave Y to complete, and it also retraced a lot more of the previous price action than the wave Y. And the third problem is that the wave 2 up here is expanded, which means it creates a new price extreme where it comes beyond the end of the wave A, rather than this wave 1. And that is much more characteristic of a wave 4 than a wave 2. Typically wave 2s, not always, this is a possibility for a wave 2 if it were to do something like this. However, wave 2s much more typically do not have these price extremes above the end of the previous wave 1. And much more often are something like this, a zigzag for an ABC, or they could be a WXY, which may look like this, which could also be a double zigzag, in which case you get a WXY, wave X, or rather it would be ABC wave W, wave X, ABC wave Y. In this case, we don't really get that. We get an expanded correction, which comes beyond the end of this wave 1, which is, like I said, much more common for wave 4. So the main conclusion that I have of this count right here is that it has a lack of the right look in symmetry. It doesn't really nicely follow the Elliott wave guidelines, and it's possible. So I'm not going to say it's impossible. It is possible, but it's very improbable in my opinion when you compare it to other counts that do follow the guidelines much more closely. Now this would be the main alternative to that count that I showed you guys previously. Instead of calling this a WXY, it's much more simple to just say this is an impulse wave than a corrective wave, which we did here, where this is a wave 1 and this is a wave 2. And instead of saying this is all a wave W, we instead said that this is all a wave WXY to give us the completion of this correction right here. And that would mean that this would be a 3 and this would be a 4. And since this does make a new price extreme, it is much more characteristic of a wave 4, like I mentioned, which makes a lot of sense calling this a wave 4 as shown. So let's get into the next count. The next false count, or the next incorrect count that I want to show you guys today would be this one right here. So let's go ahead and zoom in on the 4-hour chart to give you guys a little bit more detail on what we're looking at. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this count right here, and that would be calling this all an ending diagonal as shown. And the main problems with this count would be, there's really only one problem with this count, which I could identify, because first of all, let's take a look at the volume profile. You want to see decreasing volume in in a contracting diagonal, which we actually do get. So if you look at the volume profile, we do get decreasing volume. Also, the wave 3 is shorter than the wave 1. The wave 5 is shorter than the wave 3. The wave 4 is shorter than the wave 2. So that makes perfect sense calling it a contracting diagonal. However, it's not valid because in an ending diagonal, you want to see all the waves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they all have to make zigzags. And in this case, wave 1 and wave 3 actually make better impulses. You know, you could always argue an impulse is a zigzag. However, in this case, this wave 1 looks very impulsive. I would not consider this a zigzag in any situation. Also, this wave 3, you may be able to say this is an A, B, C. That's a little bit more debatable. However, it does look a little bit more like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That makes more sense than saying this is a pretty short wave A, B, C. So the conclusion for this count is that it's impossible because it actually violates Elliott wave rules, which you can't do. That would be an invalid count. And for that reason, I would not consider this count possible in any situation. So that is the second count that we're going to be going over. And I'm going to be showing you guys the alternative in just a second. But I want to show you guys the third count that I would consider incorrect. And that would be this one right here, where this is very common. You guys are probably seeing this a lot. And I've actually shown you guys this count in the past quite a lot. And I would say this is an invalid count, first of all, because this wave 1 is very short compared to this wave B and this wave C. You want to see some semblance of symmetry between the wave A, B, and C because they're all of the same degree. And in this case, this wave A, you know, we could just measure out the time compared to the length of wave B real quick. Yeah, you guys can already see. This wave A took a lot shorter in time than this wave B or this wave C. So lack of symmetry between the wave A, B, and C. Also, the wave C is very long compared to the wave A. So typically the wave C falls between about 100% and 165% of the length of the wave A. So in other words, if we take a trend-based Fibonacci extension tool, we compare the length of this wave A to the top of this wave B. Then typically the wave C, you want to find it typically between the 100% retracement level, so about the same length as the wave A, or the 165% retracement level. So that would be 1.65. And we can see it clearly comes way beyond those two levels, and it actually comes all the way down to the 2.618, I believe, if we were to show you guys all levels. This would actually come beyond the 2, so it would be longer than 2 times the length of the wave A, and it looks like it would be about 2.4, 2.3 if we were to guess roughly. That's a very long target for the wave C. So it's not impossible. There's no rule that says the wave C can't come that far down relative to the length of the wave A. However, it definitely takes away probabilities, in my opinion, of this being the correct count. So instead of those previous two counts that I showed you guys, which I deem incorrect, I think this count makes a lot more sense and follows the Elliott wave guidelines a lot better. This would be calling the wave 5. So this would actually be the primary wave 3 being put in right here instead of right here, because before we were calling the orthodox top being put in right here in the case of the last count that I showed you guys right here. However, in this count, rather like I mentioned in this count, this move right here for this wave 1 and the move right here for this wave 3 make much better impulse waves than corrective waves. So simply put, what I did is I put the wave 1 down here. This would be a 2. This would be a 3, 4, 5 to give us this wave 5 here, and also to give us that primary wave 3. And that would start this wave 4 correction, of course. And this makes a lot more sense. First of all, because you get alternation between the wave 2 and the wave 4. For example, this wave 2 retraces to 88.6% of the wave 1. And this wave 4 retraces only to 50% of the wave 3. So you get alternation based on price retracement. And also this wave 3, instead of calling it a zigzag like we did in the ending diagonal count, we are just simply calling it impulse, which makes a lot more sense. And instead of calling this a wave A in the case of the expanded flat count, we're just going to call it a wave 4, which makes a lot more sense than trying to force in a wave A into this move right here. And then we call this a impulse right here for this wave 5 because it just simply looks a lot more impulsive than corrective. And that would be putting in this impulse right here, the larger impulse for the wave 3. And instead of putting this wave A here, we're putting it right here. And this makes a whole lot more sense because this wave A makes a much better A, B, C. First of all, this wave B has symmetry with the wave A. So these actually have pretty good symmetry between each other, this wave A and this wave B. And instead of calling the wave C all the way down here, we're putting the end of the wave C right here and we're calling that a wave W. That makes a lot of sense because otherwise we would get a very long wave C if we were to put it all the way down here. And that would not have really the right look or the right symmetry. So it makes a whole lot more sense to me saying the wave 3 ended right here. And instead of coming to basically the 2.4% retracement level or extension, Fibonacci extension, or in other words, coming to about 240% the length of wave A, this only comes to a little bit past the 1.414, not even down to the 1.618. So it falls within the 100% and 165% retracement levels, which follows the Elliott wave guidelines a lot better than assuming this is all one massive wave C. So in other words, we're putting in a wave W here as opposed to saying this is all one massive wave C to be putting in an expanded flat. And then we come up for a wave X, WXY, and we come down for a wave Y, which happens to be a zigzag for an ABC as shown. That makes a lot more sense to me than saying this is an ending diagonal as shown for the reasons listed down here. And also it makes more sense than saying the wave A started here as opposed to started here. And this is some sort of massive wave C. This count gives us a lot better, it gives us the right look and it offers much better symmetry than those previous two counts that I showed you guys. So now let's get into the fourth count that I consider to be invalid. And that would basically be, so let's hide this for now. That would be putting this wave 5 here and this wave 4 here and saying this is all a 1, 2, 3, 4 as shown. First of all, you don't get alternation between the 2 and the 4. The 2 and the 4 are both ABCs, pretty sharp ABCs. So the 2, to clarify, ABC, wave 4, ABC. Not a lot of alternation between the 2 and the 4. And also this wave 5, let's look at the problems over here. It's nearly impossible to get a valid diagonal with proper symmetry between the wave 2 and the wave 4. So that's the first problem. In other words, if you were to subdivide this wave 5, you'd probably have to say this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some people are saying this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for an ending diagonal as shown. That's an invalid way to count this because this wave 4 does not overlap this wave 1. So you're better off calling this an impulse if you were to say this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as shown. But if you were to call this a diagonal, then this wave 3 is also longer than this wave 1. So if we compare the length of the wave 1, then we see the wave 3 actually comes beyond the 1 to 1. So in other words, it's longer than the length of the wave 1, which is not valid in a contracting diagonal. And if you were to call this an impulse instead of calling it a diagonal, then you guys can already see this wave 1 would be very hard to get a nice 5-wave move out of it to give us the wave 1. You know, it looks a lot more like an ABC. And if you were to zoom in, it's even hard to get a 5-wave move out of this move right here if you were to call this the wave 1 and this some sort of ABC for the wave 2. So overall, a very messy impulse if you were to try to call this an impulse, one that I would actually say is probably invalid. So the alternative to this count right here, which I could show you guys right here, and I'm not going to say this is the correct count, I'm just going to show you guys an alternative for your educational purposes to show you guys a count that I would consider to be valid as opposed to this count. And that would be this one right here. So instead of calling this wave 4 in right here, we could try to force in a triangle and saying this is a wave A, B, C, D, E. Now this wave C would be very short. Same with the wave D. However, it is possible to get a triangle out of this move right here, and it makes it's a lot more favorable, in my opinion, to say this is a wave 4 by a triangle than trying to say this is a wave 4 right here and fit in an impulse or a motive wave right here. Another valid alternative I could show you guys is this one right here, where instead of putting the end of this wave C assuming this is all on A, B, C as shown, instead of putting it right here and trying to say this is the end of the zigzag being put in at the highs, we could actually say the orthodox top of this move right here was put in right here. So I'll move this trend line over a little bit. It was put in right here. And this started the wave C, assuming this is an A, B, C, or it started the wave Y, assuming this is all a W, X, Y. And that would look like this if we zoom in. This would be a wave A, B, C for an expanded flat. That would be putting in a wave W. This would be a wave X, and this would be a wave Y for a zigzag for an A, B, for either for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wave A, B, C. That's a more valid way to count it, in my opinion, than trying to say the wave 4 was put in right here as shown. And that's mainly due to the problems that I listed out to you guys with this wave 5. And the final count I want to go over today, which I consider invalid, would be this one right here, calling this all a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that would of course be in the assumption that either we put in a wave 5 here and we're coming down for an impulse to give us the wave A of a zigzag, or this is all the wave C of a flat, in which case this would be an A, B, and we're coming down for the C of an expanded flat. Now, the reason this is not valid is because this wave 1 and 2 have no symmetry with wave 3 and the 4. So, for example, this wave 1 and 2 right here are of the same degree as this wave 3 and 4. However, the length of time that it took to complete the wave 3 and the wave 4 has far exceeded the length of time that it took to complete this wave 1 and 2. Now, of course, you could get extended wave 3s, and this would be an extended wave 3. However, you still want to see some semblance of symmetry to indicate that they're of the same degree. And in this case, for example, you see the wave 4 right here. Even the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree within this extended wave 3 took way longer to complete than this wave 2. And this wave 1 of a lesser degree was way longer in terms of price retracement than this wave 1 right here. So it's possible, just very, very improbable to consider this a 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, this wave 1 of 3, so if we're calling this all the wave 1 of this wave 3, it is not subdivided into 5 waves. For example, if you zoom in, we don't even have to zoom in that much to this wave right here. You can't get a nice 5-wave move out of this move right here. Even if you were to put the wave 1 down here, you still can't get a 5-wave move to give us an impulse. So therefore, I don't consider a wave 1 here to be a valid impulse. And the main conclusion that I have for this count, and really this video in general across the other counts that I went over for you guys in this video, is that the right look in symmetry in Elliott waves is extremely important. If we don't adhere to this wave formation guideline, we can force any wave count into the chart that we wish to fit our biases. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys found it educational, and I'll see you guys in the next video and in the Discord server. Take care. Bye.